Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. I'm KandyCorpse, you can call me Kay, and today I'm going to be doing something slightly different, something that I have done before, and that is I'm going to be talking about some of my own paranormal experiences that I've had. This video is going to mainly focus on things that have happened to me in this apartment that I moved into a little less than a year ago. And I don't have a list or anything like that. I'm sure I do have a list written in my notes somewhere, but I just wanted to film this video now. It's been a few weeks, like a month or two maybe, since I did my last one, and I feel like it's important for me to talk about my own experiences because I do feel like I've had some, especially being that I advocate for just because something might not have an explanation at that exact moment doesn't mean it's necessarily paranormal. I feel like a lot of things are most of the time explainable, but I want to talk about some things that for me seem like they could possibly have a paranormal explanation, but also most definitely could very easily have a regular explanation. And I'm just gonna get into it and tell you guys some of the stuff that has gone on here in this apartment. So it's not necessarily going to be in like chronological order. I'm going to try to kind of just like as I remember events. Some of them are more clear because they were much more like boom, like right in my face type of thing. But some of the main things I'm going to be talking about is the tapping. So you guys, if you watch my other videos, have probably either heard the tapping or have seen me like stop and isolate it, because like it actually stopped right now, but typically it's just a constant like, but in my walls. And sometimes it's quiet like this, and then other times there's that tapping, and then sometimes it gets really fucking intense, almost like a banging. And it's not coming from like my neighbors or anything, but yeah, so sometimes the tapping gets crazy intense. One of the last couple of videos I made, you can actually hear it, and I remember like thinking to myself, I think I said like, did y'all hear that? And you could, like, it was very clear on camera. So if you can hear it on my camera loud and clear, imagine how loud it gets from me. Some explanations: because there's no one above me, there's no one on most of my walls except for one, and it honestly only happens on every wall except for the one where I have a neighbor, and like the floor, it doesn't happen on the floor. Probably something in the walls. That's my most rational explanation. But having intelligent back and forth with it, I don't know. I feel like a squirrel isn't quite at that level yet to be able to communicate with people. When I had moved in, there was a few things that had happened right after I moved in. First of all, first day, I brought my siblings. I was like, hey, do you guys want to see my apartment? There's no furniture or anything in it, but do you guys want to see it? Like, I just got it. So I brought them in. First thing, my sister found a giant bloodstain. My sister found a bloodstain, and then I think it was also my sister, but it may have been my brother, in the cabinet, which none of this stuff was here like the week or two before, whatever, when I had like looked at the apartment. They found a card with a note basically begging the previous tenant to not unalive themselves, and there was a family photo, and we were like, okay, what the fuck is going on? And so with like the blood and everything, that was under the sink in the kitchen. So I'm like, you know what, maybe the maintenance person hurt themselves. So I texted my landlord. So I texted him, I said, hey, I hope everyone's okay. I just want to let you know that I found this. Like, I don't know if maybe, you know, the previous tenant hurt themselves from leaving, or if maybe your maintenance guy who like came in and was helping fix some stuff up after he left did. But I'm just, you know, checking, making sure everyone's okay. And he was like, yeah, no, as far as I know, everyone's okay. Like, I just asked him, and he said that he didn't get hurt or anything, but I'll come and I'll take care of it. And he did. He like cleaned it up, and he like redid the floor in there and stuff. But that was really weird. And then I moved in, and things immediately started happening. Initially, my first night, I was like, I'm being paranoid. Like, I'm sure everything's fine. I'm sure I'm just being crazy. I was like, I'm sure it's not that serious. I'm sure there's like nothing going on. Like, I'm just being dramatic. It's just because we found that stuff. Maybe it's got me a little worked up, whatever. No, because that's when the tapping started, and I like the tapping, I think, is what I initially heard, and subconsciously I was like, okay, whatever, and I just kept ignoring it. That's when my ex came over after the first like 1 or 2 nights I was here, he came over, and after the second time he had been here, which was like within a week, I think, I don't know, something like that, I can't remember, and he says to me, so how does it feel living in a haunted apartment? And I thought he was joking. I was like, haha, whatever. And he goes, no, like, I'm serious. Like, you know, I don't joke about that shit, but I am dead serious. And the reason why I thought he was joking is because he's religious, and part of, you know, what he believes is that he doesn't necessarily believe in like an afterlife in the way that we kind of talk about on this channel. He believes you either go to one place or you go to the other. You don't stay. Nobody stays. You go somewhere, but you don't stay. So he was like, no, there's something, and it's been keeping me up. And I'm like, what are you talking about? So I guess the first night, which I didn't notice, which is kind of crazy because I'm usually pretty light of a sleeper, but apparently the first night he was here, he kept hearing the tapping. And I was like, well, yeah, I ignore it all the time. He's like, you hear that now, right? And I'm like, yeah, but it happens, you know, it comes and it goes. I just ignore it. He was talking about the tapping, how it kept him up. And the first night he kept saying, stop, like, knock it off. Because I guess he thought it was maybe one of the neighbors, or thought that there was like, you know, whatever, there's something in the wall and it was pissing him off. And then the second night that he had stayed, he heard it coming from the cabinets. And he opened the cabinet and it stopped, but then closed the cabinet and the tapping would start again. And I didn't have very much in there at the time. So I guess he said he had opened it and then started like tapping on the cabinet, and then it would tap back, whatever it was. So that was weird. That was a whole conversation. He fully 100% believes there's something going on in this apartment. So kind of piggybacking off of that, probably within the first week, maybe 2 weeks I was here, I was showering. And you know how a shower curtain is like kind of opaque, but not really? Like I think opaque is the word I'm looking for, where it's like sort of see-through, but like you can't really see like fully unless you get like a clear one. So it was one of those types of situations. I'm showering and I kind of noticed, I'm like, what the fuck is that? There is a whole person standing in my doorway. And I didn't care that I was naked. I was like, who the fuck is this? And I pulled my curtain open and nothing was there. And so I actually got out of the shower and double checked to make sure my front door is locked, like I thought it was, and it was. The door was locked as I had left it. There is also a mysterious crawl space that I have never shown on this channel. I probably will not show because I try not to think about it. And my sister, first thing she said was, hopefully nothing crawls out of it at the middle of the night. You're banned. Fuck you, bitch. No. As far as I know, it's like sealed, but I also have like stuff pushed up against it, so that way, like, if something does crawl out of it. Other thing is, because I hear stuff in the walls, I don't want rats, I don't want squirrels, I don't want none of that getting into my apartment, because I have guinea pigs, so obviously I have pellets, I've got like hay, I've got my cat food. Like, I don't want them getting into any of that stuff. I also don't want them bringing diseases in to my animals, so that I'm glad is staying that way. But anyway, I saw a person, and it was like a whole like person, and not like a ton of details, but it was almost like a shadow person, but it wasn't a grown man. This was like a young boy, like, and you know, like under 13, probably like 10 years old. And there's a reason why this is important. I've never seen a young boy before, so I'm thinking it's got something to do with this apartment. And at one point, I do think I saw or heard him a few more times after this, but specifically, my ex saw this little boy the exact same way I did in the shower, dude. He comes out of the shower and he's like, why were you watching me shower? Like, why wouldn't you respond to me? And I'm like, girl, shut the fuck up. I didn't. I've been out here the whole time, like out in my living room. And he's like, no, like I saw you. And I'm like, no, you didn't. What did you see? And he was like, well, I thought it was you, but it kind of didn't look like you. I thought maybe you had your hair pulled back or something because it looked really short, like a short boy's cut. And, oh, bless you. And I was like, no, that's not me. That wasn't me. And he said that he saw someone standing there and that they were short, and he thought, like, I'm not like super tall. I'm shorter than him, but what I saw was shorter than me. So I don't know if what he saw was attempting to look similar to me, but I think he saw the same apparition that I saw, because he thought it was me, and he said that finally, after trying to talk to me and I didn't respond, which I definitely would have responded if it was me. So red flag that he didn't notice immediately. Like, we were dating for 4 years. Like, how did you not know that wasn't me? But he opened the curtain and there was nothing there, and he was like, oh, okay, she must have left. Use your brain, bro. It was there, curtain, nothing there. That's not enough time for me to turn around and run out the door for you to not see. Like, that obviously wasn't me. But I think, so he told me about that, and I'm like, no, like, I saw the same thing, and I described what I saw, and he said, yeah, that's what I saw. And you thought that was me? You thought that little boy was me? No. Full stop. No. But that was probably just like the part of his brain trying to rationalize what he saw. I get it. It is what it is. So there's that. And the reason why that is interesting is because I've definitely heard and seen a little boy since. I've heard some voices here and there since, mostly the tapping. But in past videos, I have caught, ooh, I just like kind of burped so my voice went out. I have caught things being like thrown across the room. And I did make a reel about it. I don't have like a picture or video of the before because obviously I wasn't expecting this to happen, so I didn't have it. But there was like a little Halloween decoration that I had sitting on a shelf, and it got like swiped off the shelf. If it had just kind of tipped and fell, that'd be one thing, but it did not just tip and fall. It was across the room, like at least like a foot or two across the room. Like, and even if it fell and slid a little, it should not have fallen as far as it did. And you could hear it clear as motherfucking day in the video. So stuff like that has happened frequently. I have definitely, like I said, I've heard voices. I've seen, you know, things that I couldn't explain. Sometimes my animals will react to things. Like, there was just a thud that came from that back room, and one of my guinea pigs just started like squeaking. So that's a little weird. Gonna ignore that. That's also where the crawl space is. So anyway, but there's times where my cats react to stuff. In one of my most recent videos, you can kind of see Theo keeps like looking around. He's looking at something, and then he'll like look over my shoulder, and then he'll quickly tuck his head back down and like hide his head like in my chest and in my hair. So that was very strange. One of the most recent things that happened, I saw a hand, like, it kind of like, it's hard to do the motion with the way I'm sitting, but it kind of looked like that. And I'm like, oh, that's one of my cats. It's gotta be one of my cats, right? Right? Wrong. It wasn't one of my cats. All 3 of my cats were next to me. I knew that 2 of them were next to me, but I thought maybe one of them wasn't. No, the other one was also next to me. He was just behind the other one. So what the fuck was that? What was that? That was crazy. I also just remembered I caught a picture of a cat. I had just gotten my cats. You know, they might have been in the background, except they weren't. I don't have a black and white tuxedo cat. And that cat wasn't there. Like, I didn't see it when I took the picture, but I took the picture, recorded the video, whichever it was. I think it was a picture. And in the mirror, in the corner, you can see a black and white tuxedo cat. I don't know where that picture is now, to be honest, but I do believe I made a video about that as well. If I can't find it, I'll put it right here. That was really weird. Another thing that happened, just to like throw this in real quick, my cousin came over one time and she had a couple of those apps on your phone that detects, like, you know, words, temperature changes, things like that. So we had those playing, and it was spitting out a few words, almost like we're having some sort of a conversation, which was interesting, but it did spit out a name that I haven't told anyone else, because that's what I was calling the spirit, the older man spirit that was at my parents' house. And that name spit out of the kind of the way, I can't remember the specific one, maybe a spirit box is what it's called, where it goes through the different radio channels and it spits out like words every once in a while. Like, you ask a question and like a word spits out, almost like sometimes a phrase. Usually it's just a word. Very rarely I'm like very, very rare occasions it'll spit out like a sentence, but it said a name, and it immediately, at first we were all like, oh, hee, this is so funny, this is stupid, it's just an app on a phone, it's not actually doing anything. And when I heard that name, I literally stopped. I gasped like audibly, and I feel like that's so like dumb and nobody ever does that, but I did that. I literally went, oh, and she's like, girl, what? Because that's what I would refer to the older man who would haunt my parents' house that multiple members of my family have seen. I never said the reason why the little boy is significant. I told my sister about it. My sister apparently used to see a little boy and used to talk to him all the time. Not in like an imaginary friend way, but like it was like a spirit. And I never knew that. She's like, yeah, you know, the little boy I used to talk to all the time. And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? No, I don't know that. And I described him, and he looked very similar to the one that my sister used to talk to. So I don't know, he decided to move with me. I don't fucking know. Thank you for watching. If you've had any paranormal experience of your own, I would super like love to hear them, and I want to know like anything that has happened to you guys. It's like spooky, creepy, whatever. And if you guys like these types of videos, let me know by liking, subscribing, and commenting, so I will continue to talk about my own paranormal experiences as well as other people's if they want me to.